CEO woman dares janitor's daughter to fix impossible car engine. What she reveals shocks everyone. Everyone in the room exchanged amused glances when the CEO, a sharp and confident woman named Victoria Lawson, pointed toward the janitor's quiet teenage daughter and said, "If you can fix this engine, I'll personally fund your college tuition." Laughter rippled through the conference room, echoing off the polished walls. No one expected the shy girl, Emily Parker, to step forward, yet she rolled up her sleeves with quiet determination and moved toward the challenge. What happened? Next stunned everyone and exposed a hidden family secret that would shake the entire company to its core. Emily was not just any ordinary girl. She was unstoppable. Before we dive deeper, smash that like button and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps bring more incredible stories like this to life. The massive engineering workshop inside Lawson Motors in Detroit buzzed with tension and expectation. The air was thick with the scent of motor oil and the electric hum of high-tech machinery. Engineers in crisp suits whispered behind their hands, some barely containing their smirks at the idea of a janitor's daughter trying to fix their latest prototype, a sleek, custom-built V8 engine that had baffled the entire R&D team for weeks. At the center stood the engine itself, gleaming under the harsh lights. The company's most ambitious project yet, promised to revolutionize the automotive industry. But something was wrong. Diagnostics revealed no faults, yet the engine refused to roar to life. Victoria Lawson, tall and poised with steel-gray hair and an authoritative voice that commanded the room, folded her arms and scanned the faces of her engineers. Disappointment etched on everyone. Then her gaze landed on the janitor, Mark Parker, quietly mopping the floor in the corner. Mark avoided eye contact, hoping to remain invisible, but Victoria's sharp eyes caught him. With a sly smile, she turned to the room. "Maybe it's time we asked Mark's daughter to try." She nodded toward Emily, who stood hesitantly near the exit, clutching a worn backpack stuffed with textbooks, scribbled notes, and faded engine schematics. Emily blinked, unsure if she heard correctly. Victoria chuckled softly. "Go on, Emily. If you can fix this, your future is on us." Laughter erupted again, but Emily didn't flinch. She glanced at her father, who gave a barely perceptible nod of encouragement, and then stepped forward, her eyes calm but voice barely above a whisper. "Can I take a look?" "Be my guest," Victoria said with a confident smirk. Phones were pulled out, engineers ready to capture what they expected to be an embarrassing moment. A failed attempt. That would be the talk of after-work drinks for weeks. But as Emily approached the engine, something unexpected happened. Her trembling hands steadied. She set down her backpack with a soft thud, flipped it open, and pulled out her notebook. The pages were filled with detailed diagrams and notes so complex, even the senior engineers exchanged surprised looks. "Where did she get those?" one whispered. "That's the prototype design we developed months ago," another murmured. Emily studied the engine carefully for a full minute. Then, with practiced precision, she began loosening bolts, removing panels, and inspecting hidden components. Her fingers moved like she had done this 100 times before, and then she found it. A tiny, overlooked capacitor buried deep within the control housing. Quietly, she replaced it with a component from her backpack. The large workshop hummed, with a mix of anxious energy and quiet skepticism as everyone's eyes fixated on the gleaming V8 engine sitting on the heavy-duty stand. Sunlight filtered through the tall industrial windows, casting sharp reflections on the polished metal surfaces. The walls were lined with shelves cluttered with tools, spare parts, and blueprints, but none of that seemed to matter now. This engine was supposed to be the crown jewel of Lawson Motors' innovation, a multi-million-dollar project that promised to redefine the future of automotive engineering. Around the room, engineers in crisp button-down shirts and designer glasses whispered and exchanged smirks, convinced this was just a stunt. The tension was thick. This wasn't just about fixing an engine. It was about pride, reputation, and proving who really belonged in the room. The hum of machines and the faint smell of grease mixed with an undercurrent of corporate arrogance as cameras from various smartphones were raised, ready to record the inevitable failure. Victoria Lawson, the CEO, stood confidently near the center of the room, arms crossed and eyes sharp. Her presence commanded attention. The sharp click of her heels echoed as she paced slowly, sizing up the crowd and the unlikely challenger she'd just thrown into the spotlight. The janitor, Mark Parker, lingered in the background, quietly mopping a corner of the floor, his shoulders tense but supportive as his daughter Emily stepped forward, clutching her battered backpack close. The contrast was stark. High-powered executives in tailored suits versus a teenage girl in simple jeans and a faded hoodie. Yet something in the air hinted this moment wasn't going to be what anyone expected. The room, once filled with scoffs and whispers, fell into a thick silence as all eyes shifted to Emily and the impossible challenge before her. Emily Parker stood just a few feet from the engine, her hands slightly trembling, but her gaze steady and determined. At 17, she was a quiet kid from a modest neighborhood in Detroit, known more for her curiosity and grit than for any formal engineering accolades. Her worn-out backpack, patched in several places, was stuffed not just with school books, but with well-thumbed manuals on automotive mechanics and hastily sketched engine diagrams she had pored over countless nights. Her father, Mark Parker, though by janitor at Lawson Motors, had always encouraged her love for tinkering. Though his job kept him in the background of the sprawling corporate world, Mark was proud of Emily's quiet brilliance. He watched her from a distance, a mixture of pride and worry etched across his weathered face. The other workers barely noticed him, but to Emily he was her biggest supporter, her rock. Victoria Lawson, the CEO, was a stark contrast. In her early 40s, Victoria was a commanding presence, sharp, ambitious, and unafraid to rattle the status quo. Raised in a world of boardrooms and bottom lines, she was known for her razor-sharp intellect and no-nonsense attitude. With her perfectly tailored suit and piercing eyes, she exuded confidence that bordered on intimidation. Victoria wasn't just challenging Emily. She was testing the very limits of the company's innovation and her own power. Around them, a handful of engineers and executives exchanged glances, skeptical and ready to witness what they expected to be a humiliating failure. Among them was Derek Collins, Lawson Motors' lead engineer, who had worked on the V8 engine prototype from the beginning. He wore a smirk, convinced that no teenager, let alone a janitor's daughter, could possibly understand the complexities of the machine they had spent months perfecting. Yet beneath the surface of this tense scene, a quiet storm was brewing. One that would challenge assumptions, expose hidden truths, and rewrite the rules of who could belong in this world of high-tech innovation. Emily's story was about to begin. The room fell into a heavy silence as Victoria Lawson took a deliberate step forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a sharp blade. "If anyone can fix this engine," she said, glancing meaningfully at Emily, "then maybe we should let the janitor's daughter prove it. Fix this, and I'll personally fund your college tuition." A ripple of laughter erupted from the engineers and executives. Some shook their heads, exchanging amused smirks. Derek Collins scoffed under his breath, muttering, "This is a joke. Let's see how long she lasts before she gives up." Emily's heart pounded, but she didn't retreat. Instead, she squared her shoulders, the weight of her father's quiet encouragement steadying her resolve. "Can I take a look?" she asked softly, her voice steady despite the storm around her. Victoria raised an eyebrow, a faint, almost predatory smile crossing her lips. "By all means, be my guest." Cameras appeared as some employees pulled out their phones, eager to capture what they expected would be a spectacle. A young girl humiliated in front of the entire company. Emily knelt down beside the engine, her fingers brushing over the cold, metal surface. The smell of oil and gasoline mixed with the electric buzz of anticipation in the air. As she opened her backpack, the murmurs grew louder. Out came a battered notebook filled with her meticulous notes and hand-drawn schematics, pages worn from countless nights spent studying. The engineers exchanged uneasy glances as Emily flipped through the pages, landing on diagrams eerily similar, to the very engine they'd been struggling with. Derek's confident smirk faltered. "Where did she even get that?" someone whispered nearby. "That's our design. From last quarter." Emily's eyes scanned the engine with a practiced intensity. Her fingers moved with surprising expertise as she removed a panel and examined components that others had overlooked. The room grew quiet, the laughter replaced by a charged curiosity, as Emily worked with a skill and confidence that no one had anticipated. The impossible challenge was about to meet its match, and the truth behind Emily's quiet determination was on the verge of being revealed, something that would shake the company to its core. As Emily carefully adjusted a small, intricate component deep inside the engine, the room held its collective breath. Every eye was fixed on her hands, moving with a precision that seemed almost instinctual. For months, this engine had defeated the best minds at Lawson Automotive, yet here was a teenage girl dismantling its mystery piece by piece. Suddenly, a faint click echoed, a sound so subtle only the closest could hear it. Emily's face lit up with a quiet triumph as she connected two wires that had been incorrectly aligned, a flaw so minute that no one had caught it before. The engine gave a hesitant rumble, then a steady purr. Gasps filled the room. Victoria's cool demeanor faltered for just a second, her eyes widening with disbelief. Derek Collins, who had mocked Emily earlier, stared in stunned silence, unable to form words. The impossible was happening. Then came the real shock. As Emily looked up, she pulled from her backpack an old photograph, worn and creased, showing a young woman standing beside the very founder of Lawson Automotive, a woman whose face mirrored Emily's own. "Who's that?" Victoria demanded, stepping closer. Emily's voice was steady but filled with emotion. "That's my grandmother, Evelyn Carter. She was one of the original engineers who designed this engine before she disappeared under mysterious circumstances." Hush fell over the room as the pieces began to click into place. The notebook, the designs, it all traced back to Evelyn. Emily wasn't just the janitor's daughter. She was the rightful heir to a legacy buried deep within the company's walls. The revelation sent shockwaves through Lawson Automotive. The story wasn't just about fixing a broken engine, it was about reclaiming a stolen legacy, exposing hidden betrayals, and rewriting history. Emily had not only proven her skill, but also unveiled a truth that no one was prepared to face. The room crackled with tension as Emily stood tall, the weight of her family's legacy settling over her like a mantle. Victoria's icy gaze hardened, but beneath it flickered the first hint of respect, tinged with unease. The executives who had mocked her now scrambled to mask their shock, their laughter swallowed by the truth unfolding before them. Emily's voice rang clear, steady, but charged, with years of hidden pain and determination. "My grandmother didn't just design this engine. She was forced out, erased from every record because she challenged the old guard. Today, I'm here to fix what they broke and take back what's ours." Whispers erupted as employees exchanged glances. The CEO's challenge was no longer a joke. It was a reckoning. The very company that had dismissed her family's contributions now faced the justice of their own hubris. Victoria, battling her pride, finally broke the silence. "Emily, if you're right, this changes everything. Not just about this engine, but how we've treated those who built this company." Emily nodded, her eyes blazing. It's time for truth. It's time for change. As the engine hummed steadily behind her, a wave of respect and solidarity swept through the room. What began as a dare ended as a powerful awakening. Justice had awakened, and with it, a new chapter for Lawson Automotive. The atmosphere shifted completely as Emily's words sank in, leaving the room both breathless and inspired. The engine, once a symbol of failure and arrogance, now represented hope and redemption. The senior engineers, once skeptical, stepped forward to support her, offering expertise and renewed dedication. Victoria, humbled, extended a tentative hand. "Emily, let's work together to rebuild this company, honoring your grandmother's vision and the people who made it possible." With that gesture, the walls of hierarchy and prejudice began to crumble. Emily's victory was not just technical. It was deeply personal and profoundly transformative. She became the new face of innovation at Lawson Automotive, a symbol of resilience for everyone overlooked or underestimated. Months later, the engine was not only fixed but became the heart of Lawson's newest breakthrough, one that would redefine the automotive industry. News outlets hailed Emily as a rising star, and her story sparked conversations about recognition, equality, and the power of perseverance. But for Emily, the real legacy was far greater. She had rekindled a forgotten family honor and paved the way for countless others to rise beyond limitations. The janitor's daughter had dared to dream, and in doing so, changed the course of history. Lawson Automotive was no longer just a company. It was a community reborn, built on truth, justice, and the courage to defy expectations, and Emily's name would forever be etched in its proud legacy. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to smash that thumbs up and hit subscribe for more unforgettable, emotional, and viral true stories. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell us, where in the world are you watching from?